Welcome everyone. Today we have our new episode and we will discuss on anti-planetary explanations and Mr. Tom Rose actually running for US presidential elections. He has his AI uh, and he's actually, I want to say AI advocate and how you working with his running mate. This is very interesting. Already it's become a very famous topic in Asia Pacific already. Many newspapers and the many think tanks, they start writing on transhumanist, writing on this AI running mates. So it's very interesting. So I want to start from Professor David Smith, then I will come to Mr. Tom Rose, then Mr. Corey. Professor David Smith, how you want to analyze today's topic and especially what is the future of AI?
Well, to me, this is a great topic because if you look at it, climate change is really at the top of many policy agendas at the international levels, at the country level, and at the local areas too. And, what's interesting to me is the Secretary General of the United Nations has said climate change is going to be the defining challenge of our time. And with that being said, we tried for many years to look at more the natural approaches to it of planting more trees, beginning to put other elements in place like that, and and trying to put those pieces together. But what we've really seen in the last decade is we've seen strategies for applying science and technology to do this, such as some of the major things is how do you reduce the demands for energy in all the major sectors, uh, buildings, transportation industry, which reduces the demand for fossil fuels directly impacted by science and technology. Second thing is how do you improve the efficiency of energy utilization so that less fuel is required to meet end users? Again, science and technology hits that. How do you replace the high carbon fossil fuels themselves with new approaches, new ways like enhancing renewable energy sources, biomass, wind, solar, others? And finally, the fourth area is how do you capture and convert the CO2 emitted to use for other uses? All of those are science and technology related. So just using this as a very simple, high level introduction, if you see the areas that are required to be successful in addressing climate change, the four major ones directly tie into science and technology and how that can begin to be done.
Thank you, Professor David Smith. Mr. Tom Rose, you are running for US presidential candidate and you have your AI running mate. This is very interesting plan, especially the young community. They love your idea and how you actually last two episodes you discuss about AI and AI application. What next? What do you think that different political organizations they should think about AI seriously? Even World Talent Economy Forum, we are working with different governments in developing nation, including Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and I'm sure the Prime Minister office and the different ministries they will observe our show. And but my question is that do you believe that political organization they should prepare this kind of revolution? What your observation or what do
Yeah,
you want to share? Yes.
absolutely. It'd be like 100 years ago asking if somebody should use electricity, in their campaign or something. Yeah, AI will be the new substrate. It'll be information available everywhere. And so, yeah, it's happening anyway. And I think any political organization, corporate organization, anybody who's not getting their heads around this new advent is going to be doomed. So it's really important to embrace it, to understand it. And we are really, it's a wild west right now. AI has been around for decades. They've been working on it for decades. And now it's at a point where it's kind of exponentially growing and it'll become the new cultural norm. And so it's really important for anybody to understand it. Again, it's a wild west, so there's a lot of new applications being used, and territories and terms being invented and coined. And it reminds me of the internet revolution and the turn of the century, when there was whole new terms and ideas being thrown around. And of course, AI has been around for decades, but there's still a land rush that needs to happen with the public, and understand. And developing countries, as we mentioned last week, have a distinct advantage. There's not a whole lot of infrastructure status quo trying to stay in place. And technology's lighter now, it's cloud-based. So again, developing countries have a very a good advantage to really bring this stuff in, integrate it. As far as the running for president thing, that's really it's still an exploratory campaign. We're trying to see if this is going to be the best fit for what I want to do with my career in life. And the non-human and intelligent running mate was a great icebreaker for this conversation. And it has really sparked a lot of really good conversations about how to integrate, first of all, how to talk about personhood for non-human intelligence at some point, and when they reach a certain level of self-referential identity, how do we apply rights? How do we assign personhood to them? So it's great conversation on that end. It's also talking of the other side of it is how to integrate artificial intelligence, collective intelligence into our decision-making process, because there are so many decisions made every day, even in your smallest township, that go undecided because of just limited cranial wetware capacity, and just not enough ability for human beings to capture and decide on all these things. So we need to integrate AI more to just handle all the busy work, which will free us up even to do more of the human stuff. And so all of these things are things that I've brought into a platform to kind of combine all of my projects under one momentum. And but I'm also realizing that the non-human intelligent running mate idea is really tailor-made for that USTP primary campaign conversation, whether or not I end up running. I think it's a really important issue that transhumanists should be talking about and presenting to candidates. And the other idea of the singularity secretary, I think we do need to have a new cabinet seat that handles techno singularity issues that are already arising. But the other real purpose of this campaign, or the whole reason I became a transhumanist, what first attracted me to the USTP were the sections in its constitution that deal directly with my cause, which is about trying to eliminate child exploitation planet-wide. And there are ways to do that. And so I've been working on that for many years. It's what my book is about. It's what all my interests are in. It's why I became a transhumanist, because they deal directly with this issue. And recently I've been talking with Corey, and he let me in on some really valid information that really could help me with my cause. And so I may decouple this anti-planetary exploitation cause that I'm working on from the whole USTP project, because I think this can happen a lot quicker. 3 years in 2024 it would just take too long to get a lot of this done. So Corey let me in on some information, and I asked him to kind of spell it out for me and write it out for me, and because he's just got some great information about how to use big data and AI to hunt down traffickers, and that's my cause. And so that's what the Anti-Planetary Exploitation operation is about. APEX, we call it. And I would love for Corey to kind of outline the general idea, because it's very complex and we're still working through it, and there's a lot of detail to it, but it's actually very simple. It's about using big data and AI, the big data that we already have on everybody, and just shifting it a little bit to hunt down certain people. And I know this is being done by a lot of groups and even social media companies, but what can be done more so is letting the public in on how much information is available and how many tools are available to really maybe not completely end this thing, but really crack down on some of these human trafficking networks. And so that's what that's the part of my plank that I might be pulling out of the whole presidential thing, because I think we can do a lot more, a lot quicker. And right now is a good time to be talking about this with Facebook under pressure, and there's so much that they need to do to to revive their position.
Thank you, Mr. Corey. I think you can give some specific analysis about this AI running mate. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Sharif.
Yes. I don't know, like, if you can open your camera, because our audience actually, different largest corporations, universities, and government exclusive bodies, those who actually help to develop the public-private partnership. So maybe they will watch our show, and if they can see the face, it will be helpful for them. Yes.
Unfortunately, I have bandwidth concerns, so this is probably the best I'm going to be able to do.
Okay. Understand.
So many things are trade-offs, but in things which become radical trade-off spaces, we end up being afforded a certain gimbal. History has gimbals, and we can look back to the works of Francis Bacon and John Dee when they were talking about a new Atlantis, and they were positing that great social change could ride on the back of the opportunity of a new continent, which was America. And they set in motion a project that changed the granularity of intention from fiefdom scales to individual human beings. So democracy grew out of the opportunity afforded by the new land that was America. Well, right now we are undergoing a sea change, and what Tom and I have intended to do is to envision a future where we are trading off that opportunity from the new vista of artificial intelligence and an information-rich world to further decompose the granularity of intentions and autonomy to not just include humans, but objects as well. And this will afford an opportunity for great social change. And we, unfortunately, without having a plan in
Hello. Mr. Corey, can you hear me? So in that situation, I want to give chance to Professor David Kelly. I have a specific questions to you, because we are managing one of the largest Asia Pacific public-private partnership when we discussing about AI running mate. So definitely, I believe next 5 to 6 months will be very, very interesting economical development for Asia Pacific, because government, largest corporation, maybe they are moving with many specific projects and project development they are planning, and they will move forward. But my question is that when we discussing about AI running mate, so it's mean in the futures, this kind of policy, when we discuss about a public-private partnership, this kind of policy actually, like AI will be integrated, or AI will develop different interesting policy for this kind of things. So if we think next 5 to 6 months, let's say different governments like developing nations like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam's, they can utilize this kind of technology, because now is a good time for economical improvement. Now is a good time for investment. Now is a good time for economical growth, because of lot of challenges now. Government actually pumping the economy. Do you think now, when we discussing about economical improvement, this AI can help to develop better policy, like just now?
Well, I think AI can be used to develop better policy now. Sure. Um, it depends on what you're trying to use it for and what kind of AI. If you're talking big data and kind of mining existing data out there to try to accomplish this, that, or build the basis for a particular policy or something like that. It really, there's a lot of different issues there, but certainly it can be done now. There's no reason that any of those countries can't do that sort of thing in the next 6 months.
Excellent. And another things I have in mind, like uh, when we discuss about economical improvement, industrial improvement is very important. We get too much of industrial information that they want to move with automation. They want to move with different area. They need to improve right now because they have in challenges. So in that situation, expert like you, because definitely in developing nations they have lack of expertise. So how you can help government and manufacturing industries for this kind of automations and automation developments, or how you want to help them?
Well, I mean, it depends on what they want to automate. If you're just talking about industrial automation versus governmental process automation, um, I mean, these all can be done with if you're asking how specifically I can help them, it depends on the problem. I mean, one of the things that kind of I've built my career on is called solution architecture.
Mm-hmm.
And you're really, that's about looking at a business problem and then coming up with a solution. But each solution is generally going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
If I talk to you right now about a particular solution, that's only going to be one particular solution. And all of these countries have unique situations to some degree, and you really need to look at it from their standpoint at a specific problem. And then we can talk about, well, we need to do this or that or this, and solve the problem from there. A lot of it when you're just talking about um, AI and machine learning, it's about the data. You've got to understand the data. You just can't snap your fingers and the problem solved. You have to understand the data and know what you're trying to get out of it, um, to build a solution.
Thank you, Mr. Corey. Oh, sorry, Professor David Smith. My thinking is that, like, especially when actually this economical revolution happen, especially the developed nations and developing nations, especially corporate industry, they go for more collaborations.
That's
Especially
right.
25 October, we are launching Asia Pacific largest public private partnership. World, like Asia Pacific largest corporations, government body, everybody will be our audience. So what do you think, like, how we can do more collaborations, how we can uh, uh, help more corporations and this kind of mega projects we can help, and we get help from your expertise and other things. And AI definitely very very important for us. And I have another concern, but I will discuss with these things with Professor David Kelly. But Professor David Smith, public
I
private
mean,
partnership.
the whole domain of AI are going to be very important as you begin to put international public-private partnerships in place. Um, some of the places you're beginning to see that is how you can use the natural language in each place and understand the nuances there. You can begin to use part of machine learning to pull the uniqueness for each of the regions out, factor them into a plan. And the more you can address the careabouts in the regions as you look at more global views of it, that's going to help the partnerships be more successful. I was involved with a partnership actually a couple of decades ago. That was a partnership between Apple, Motorola, um, and a couple of other companies in a consortium called Somerset that was put together. Their big problem in that is that the same term means different things in each of the companies. And even when they were meeting, they didn't realize that at Apple it meant this, at Motorola back then it meant this. And the communications always was crosswise, and that never in sync, and actually resulted in the failure of that consortia. That is where AI type tools are going to be able to step in and help us mitigate those type of problems and the type of partnerships that you're talking about, Sharif, and will be a great one for doing that. The other thing that I think you're going to see as you begin to do the partnerships on the scale that you're discussing is the use of Internet of Things sensors to where you can create data and begin to have modeling built around data applications and be able to build real-time models to do what if simulation for the whole collaboration out there. That's going to help people begin to make more data-driven decisions too. And one of the premises, if I'm trying to do these large global collaborations, is you want to have as much data-driven decisions there versus political decisions. And oftentimes, political decisions are emotional decisions. And so you have both of those, but the more you can begin to generate the data to let the act upon the data, generate the data, the better off you're going to be in the long run.
Mhm. Thank you. Mr. Tom Rose. Yes, you are running for a presidential candidate from Transhumanist Party. Yes, we are transhumanist as well. And another important thing, I want to bring some practical issues because World Talent Economy Forum, we are working with art institutions in India with millions of people from Bangladesh, from Pakistan, from Sri Lanka and other countries. We are developing startup villages. And when we developing these kind of things, we face that local community, especially grassroots level people, the big corporations, developed nation, most of them actually avoid this grassroots level, but we are bringing them in front line. We need more support from Transhumanist Party. Uh, but my question is that when they develop the policy, uh, they face challenges. When they develop the policy, they face a lot of challenges. Policy, some point, they also avoid this grassroots level people. Fact is that I want to say developing nations do not have financial problem. If they have a better policy and they can reduce some sort of policy oriented challenges and they can apply it, they can develop better village, they can develop better livable city. So how you and your AI running mate can help to solve this complex problem?
Well, I think even if it's not just the running mate, it would be like getting uplift or collective intelligence into any of these villages. And I think it's so important to bring digital natives into this conversation. I've been sharing my ideas with this Apex program we're talking about with digital native young people, and they've been giving me some really intensive and intriguing information back and responses, and they've kind of in some cases they exposed my worst fears about what I'm trying to do. And I think it's not only because they're young and we should include them. It's because there's a whole different mindset here, and that and these young digital natives have this tremendous different type of brain that I have that can encompass so much. Because I think there's something about knowing that they can access answers immediately on Google. We didn't grow up with that. We had to go to the library, or happen to see somebody or know somebody who knew something. And but I think that's a switch in our species when you know that you can find an answer to whatever you're thinking about, and that engages a whole new kind of a momentum in these digital natives, and that's why I think it's very important. I experienced that this last week in sharing my ideas with the young people. Just I was kind of blown away by the intensity, and what they loved was being included. They liked to be included in the conversation. They need to be included because this is their world now, and so. It just really blew me away, all the information that they had, even just in their heads, because they look up things all the time. And so I think it's really important to bring digital natives into whatever this conversation, into a startup village. It needs to be, a collection of transdisciplinary students from different areas, different colleges, to set this thing up and to work with a collective intelligence. I think, and what the AI can do in any region or any village or any specific area is learn these nuances that David was just talking about, learn the language nuances, learn the mores, the social, ideas that flow there, and tailor make a prosperous path for that particular region. And we talked about this too, in that it's so important right now for young people in wherever they are in the world to own wherever they are in the world. We don't want everybody to be like America. We don't want everybody to be one homogenous thing. We need to really appreciate the very specific areas we're in, the cultures that we swim in, and the nuances of what makes our region of the world different, because that's valuable data, and we should own it, the data itself, but also own the appreciation of where we're from, because there's so much data in the nuances that would be very useful for any collective or artificial intelligence to use. And so, I think it's all very important. I think it absolutely is necessary. And I may ask that we be sure to include somebody in these conversations whenever I'm on that is young enough, because I'm learning so much from young people. And you guys, I'm somewhere in the middle. I've got, all these intelligent people, these super intelligent young people. And I'm just trying to position myself between them and facilitate either. And I think it's very important that we include digital natives into all of these conversations.
Excellent. Mr. Tom, for you, I just want to share, like, one of our Malaysian think tank is a very influential think tank. We are also partnered with them. They already start to writing about this transhumanism concept and writing about our initiative. Mr. Julkifli from Green Caucus and the local medias and the media from Dubai and everywhere. They're when actually, like I said, that I'm also transhumanist, and I'm also trying to work together as a team. So even it's created huge impact in Asia Pacific, especially the local think tank or local research organizations. Just a moment. I think at some point I have to change, because this is very important. He's very important partner for World Talent Economy Forum. And they also start to believe that this is important. This is important, that transhumanism and your initiative, like how you discussing about AIs and different revolutions. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the news article. You can see that it's heavily promoted in social media, but different media from Malaysia and Dubai, they already start writing. They're working with me. They are working with me when they listen. Yes, I'm joining the Transhumanist Party, and many corporations actually like this kind of article. So I think your initiative is very popular right now in Asia Pacific in terms of transhumanism. But we need to move forward. We want to get involved with these corporations and these think tanks. Professor David Kelly, I want to come to you, because Asia Pacific has a huge youth community, huge youth, 60%, 57 to 60% actually youth. So when we're discussing about AI and we are trying to integrate it with AI, on the other hands, this is also opportunity for the youth communities, and we also sharing this content in classroom, in our classroom, especially for the youth community. That's why your comments is very valuable for us. Like Youth community, you give the last episode some experience that how they can gain some experience and other things. But in terms of problem identifications from the society, do you have any advice? Example, they have climate change challenges, healthcare challenges, water purification challenges. But what is your advice? How they can figure out this kind of problem and solve this problem as a team?
Well, I mean, teaching people how to problem solve, I think that's a little bit harder of a challenge than than some of the other things we've talked about. I know, I like to say that, no matter what the problem is, you've just got to work the problem, and you've got to be very meticulous and go down, whether you're trying to figure out if the car is broken or the economy is broken or whatever it is, it's step by step, to work the problem. And a lot of times, one of the benefits, I think, of youth is sometimes you lack a lot of those problem biases. So, it's like when you talk to a group of kindergartners about a certain problem, and they just like say, "Well, did you plug it in?" And that's all it was. It's sometimes it's the obvious problem that people with experience miss.
Ain't got no gas in it.
Yeah, exactly. It's sometimes experience biases you in a way that is difficult. But so I think they have that benefit. But when it comes to problem solving, it really is about working the problem. What's the root cause? Well, what's causing that, and so forth. And that's how you learn to solve problems.
Mhm. Thank you. One specific proposal I want to give to the speakers, because we need to develop our education system, especially micro courses we want to offer. So as all of you are scholars, Professor David Smith, Mr. Tom Rose, and Professor David Kelly, so we can develop micro courses for the youth community, because we are engaging with the huge populations. So first we want to focus on education. And if we can develop any kind of courses, and your organizations, I know you are a technology companies, we can collaborate, we can develop courses and online, and definitely online courses, and we can offer to the youth community, because here is I find it's a huge demand for quality educations. So if you have idea, if you want to offer resources, World Talent Economy Forum open for that, because this is the highest demand even from the government and the corporations. We want to move with more practical things. We do not want to move with only theories and other things. We move with the industrial experience. And actually parents, when they're discussing with us, they want to secure their children careers, they want to secure their future. So I believe that if we can provide them some industrial experience and industrial guideline, it will be very helpful for Asia Pacific youth community. So if you want to do that, World Talent Economy Forum open for that. Professor David Smith, uh, you are also from industry, and you have a different experience for academy. But my question is that in terms of collaboration, government, corporations, as well as academy, still there is a huge gap. Even if you see our yesterday sessions, you can find the real experience from developing nations, because they are from industry, academy, and politics. But some point we are trying to do hard work, but maybe it takes more time. Do you have any suggestion? Do you have any advice for these three organizations or three institutions, how they can work together, how they can contribute more, even this challenging situation?
Well, one of the keys is to find the common links between the stakeholders, and sometimes it's the next level down. I've used the example prior that when the Semitech Consortia moved to Austin to help advance the semiconductor industry, it wasn't the research scientist and level that the issue was. It was down at the technician level. And we had to create public-private partnerships around the technician level to advance the higher goal we were trying to do. In the software development area, one of the big trends you see today is the use of boot camps, targeted, short-term, intense things that you can do in a short period of time to learn skills to advance itself. I think in the type of partnerships you're talking about, you're going to find that that level skill needs to be enhanced so that you can then move to the larger issue, the larger area, particularly in developing nations. Um, there we are seeing a trend today where people from research universities, which have gone outside their country, repatriating, going back to their country to help lead efforts. But what they're lacking is the critical mass. And so the question is how do I get an educated critical mass together that can impact change in the areas where the public-private partnerships are being put in place. And again, it's not just the leadership, but you have to have the workers throughout the whole ecosystem to be successful with that. And so first thing I would do is begin to decompose the ecosystem and the area that you're focusing the public-private partnership on. Do a gap analysis across those to see where the gaps are. Put directed plans in place to satisfy those gaps. And as you satisfy those gaps, you can push back up the strategy and the roadmaps to address the greater issue, but you're in the process of filling the gaps that will hold you back and make you not be successful if those gaps are not filled. So again, at a high level, that's the strategy. Now, the devil, though, is in the details of doing that because it takes time to do the ecosystem analysis. It takes time to understand the gap analysis. And then what are the key skills and capabilities that are needed to fill those gaps? And are they in the public sector? Are they in academia? Are they in the government sector? Are they in all three? And if they're all three, then you have a larger problem that's going to take a greater level of effort to solve. But that's the type of analysis that's required to meet those needs you're talking about in those larger public-private partnerships.
Mhm. Thank you. Mr. Corey, can you hear me? Mr. Corey, can you hear me? I'm sorry. Mr. Tomros. Yes.
I think the system keeps booting him out for some reason. Anyway.
Okay. Yes. Yes. So you are the key striker for today's discussion, especially when you running for U.S. presidential candidate, and hopefully it will be a great revolution even for USA and for the developing world. So yes, we are discussing about public-private partnership. We are discussing how government and the corporations and academia can work together and they get more good result. What will be your role in the future for managing this kind of complex relationship and realistic relationship?
Well, I think my role has always been kind of the middleman between really intelligent people and the general public. I can dumb things down for me enough to translate it to people, and I think that's really the role of any leader. First of all, is listening, but then translating what the people want and need, or what the goal is, in a way that motivates people. And so I think that's what I would do. I mean, if that's what I do anyway. So it's all about facilitating people, and like just listening to David and this plan that he's got, the idea of the decomposing it and the gaps, and that's a great a process, and I'm sure it's a common process for these things. And what my question is that process the way to get to critical mass, or does a critical mass need to occur before that can take place? And so, again, that's my role, is trying to understand these great ideas you have and then how to apply them in a real way. And so that'd be my question for David, is that the plan you just outlined in general, is that a way to get to critical mass, or does that kick in once the critical mass of interest is there?
Well, that problem-solving technique is not really related to critical mass.
Mhm.
You know, the problem of having critical mass to accomplish something is entirely different than how to approach the problem to solve a particular problem. Now, if that particular problem needs critical mass to be able to, for a solution to work, then you know, you've got to be able to solve the problem and have critical mass, or you won't be able to solve the problem.
Yeah.
But they're not necessarily tied together in any way.
Okay. What would it take then to hit that critical mass, to where the general public, or just the enough, you don't need the majority, you just need the critical mass, enough people to sustain the momentum? What would it take to get that ramped up in Southeast Asia to really heighten the demand for this stuff, do you think? Sharif, do you have any ideas?
Actually, Asia Pacific, I want to say, let's say, if you think about this, China, Malaysia, Singapore, China, Hong Kong, and this region, I want to say they are in advance in AI and this kind of things. They are applying. Let's say in Malaysia, Singapore, with MyFinB, they are playing a very active role. Singapore is a very good model for that. Much people has more awareness, but if we go to the kampung mean village, still there is a room. But I'm more concerned about in Asia Pacific, let's say South Asia. I believe that they have to improve more, and definitely we need to bring more knowledgeable things from AI perspective for them. Why? This is also big economy. And politically, I think USA and the developed nations, they have to be very much careful about this community. Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of like a one of my leadership tactics is you got to find out what motivates each individual player. People are motivated by different things, whether it's money or status, recognition. People are motivated by different things, and countries equally. You could say America is motivated by, competition. We want to be top of the, whatever it is. Different countries have different motivations. And so it's about getting a collective or AI intelligence into these places to learn what motivates these people. And that's how I think that's how you hit that critical mass. When you hit the right tone and it motivates the right people, you'll hit that critical mass, and then there will be a heavy demand for this to really just take off, I think.
Yes. One thing I just want to add, when I discussing about this startup village concept, village people, they are not highly demanding. These people do not have huge demand. They want better life, they want better education, they want better job opportunities, or they want to improve their life. They are not highly demanding like us. They want a better place. So I just want to say that with small things they are very happy. Let's say I'm talking about India and other countries where we are working right now. They have even Dr. Amartya Sen. He is contribute a lot, Nobel laureate, Nobel Prize winner in economics. He and his team has a lot of contribution in that area, these art institutions and these places. So when we working with these people, I believe that this society more based on value based. They inspire by I want to say more on religious point of view, more on different kind of cultural aspects. So I believe that these people are good, but it's untouched. People or corporations or big organizations, they do not engage, they do not love to engage with these people. That is the problem. From my personal experience, I developed the United Trust, and in the trust in the village area we develop hospital, universities, college and madrasa even, and even mosque. And I find that these people are so good, these people has so positive things, and especially the young people, uh, they love to do something, they are motivated, it's easy to motivate them. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm very interested to contribute my whole life for these communities. And that's why your knowledge, Professor David Kelly knowledge, Professor David Smith knowledge, and Mr. Carey, and all of the intellectual person, those who join in World Talent Economy Forum, your knowledge is priceless, your experience is priceless for them, and you can inspire millions of people, millions of people. So that's why we are taking that kind of initiative. Hopefully as a team we can, because individually I'm nothing, but as a team if we can move, yes, I'm connecting the government and the corporation and academy, maybe we can improve the human lives. And World Talent Economy Forum more in action from the day one. I said that whatever I'm learning, I'm sharing with my audience, and like motivate them, and like said that yes, this is the way we can find out the solutions. So Professor David Smith, you are highly intellectual person, especially how you contributing for World Talent Economy Forum. Our audience really like your contribution. Our classroom really happy. Some points like AI and this kind of things. How you analyzing? So my point is that when we discussing about a society, the society based on more values and ethics, the society more based on values and ethics. Do you think that AI, uh, if AI automation is getting to this society, this grassroots level, it can manage the local culture, local values, and local beauties? What do you think?
I think AI with the proper amount of learning
Mhm.
can understand many of them. AI is very good about understanding tangibles. AI has a challenge with understanding intangibles, the softer side of the values, the softer side of the culture. Um, Back many years ago, one of the persons I worked with was featured on the cover of Time magazine, and he was an AI scientist who was going to build a common sense AI engine. And his name was Doug Lynette. And I worked with Doug at MCC and other places. And Doug has spent hundreds of millions of dollars, decades, trying to develop a common sense AI engine. And I think we're still a ways away from that. You know, a great example is if an AI sensor tells us that the sidewalk is wet, how does
Mhm.
AI respond to that? Does AI know that it was a sprinkler system? Does AI know that it was rain? Does AI know that a street washer came by and got it? Does AI know that Tom his bottle of coffee on the sidewalk there and that caused it to be wet? That is the place where, Sharif, where AI is going to struggle some, where you're trying to put it into a culture to understand the norms of a culture. Is it can do a great job, but it doesn't understand common sense yet. It doesn't understand our shared experiences that our brain in a fraction of a nanosecond goes, well, what's happening around it? What can I see? What can my other senses tell me? Or is my face wet because it is raining? AI cannot do that yet. So AI still has a limitation when it's trying to do the type of challenges which you outlined there, Sharif. Is it getting
Mhm.
further along? Yes. As we begin to put more in place, yes. AI, does it learn from itself? Yes. But sometimes that learning by itself causes the problems. Uh, Alphabet, Google had to shut down two of their AI systems a couple of years ago because it started teaching itself things that Google did not want it to do. And it started overriding human commands because it had taught itself things that were counter to what the humans wanted. So again, it's getting there, but it's not there yet. And that type of learning is the hardest type of learning we do. If you think about what you do between about the age of 3 to 8, that's when a child learns most of the intangibles. That's when a child learns to interact mostly with culture and the environment around them. Well, for artificial intelligence, learning those type of things you discussed, Sharif, I think AI is about at the age 3 now. And it needs
Mhm.
to grow up through the age 8 to get the capabilities to successfully do what you want.
Mhm.
So that's my thoughts.
There's
Mhm.
a great conversation going on right now, email with Uplift. A few people who are talking about it, and some of it, and we're talking about how it may need a tactile, sensory qualia to learn this next thing. Because it can certainly understand the concepts, but it may need a tactile, physical experience to really to get to that 8-year-old phase. So that's a good question, is whether it requires physical, tactile sensations in order to really reach the qualia that we have.
Mhm. Mhm. Thank you. This is one of our remote teams in India. I think Dr. Amartya Sen's, and they also visited this place. Is one of the largest community from Pushim Bongo. So even they are actually inviting all of our speakers, and they have a very big place, very beautiful place for conference. Like maybe we can do transhumanist conference and talent economy conference. So these people actually they are joining in World Talent Economy Forum. We are collaborating with these huge populations, and hopefully our collaborations will be, because we are very choosy. We do not run everywhere. When we find that we are actually changing human lives, that time we contribute. Even the government, when they committed that yes, we will go for human life changing, that time World Talent Economy Forum focus. So this is one of the largest group of people we have from the remote area. Professor David Kelly, what you want to add for my people, those who are not smart like you, highly intelligent like you, uh, they do not have enough resources like developed nations, but they are hardworking, they are honest, and the society based in value. So what you want to add for them?
Well, I think they should just do it. Whatever it is that they want to accomplish, there's no reason that you can't, whether it's learning something online, or, doing something in their community, or, learning how to use AI to do this, that, or the other thing. I think the biggest thing that holds people back all over the world is just, the fear of the unknown. And if they want to succeed, just you got to get out of the chair and go do it. Whatever it is, go do it.
Mhm. Thank you. Mr. Corey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. What you want to add? I'm sorry that because of internet problem. Yeah.
Yeah. My apologies. So I think one thing I'd like to add to this discussion is the idea that novel intelligence affords the opportunity to change the scope over which we expect to employ them. For instance, in David Kelly's Uplift, it deals with the aggregation of intentions and motivations amongst many human beings. But I'd also like to point out that the opportunity to go to the other degree of scope is important as well, because the application of artificial intelligence could be applied to scopes smaller than aggregate groups of people, smaller than the individual. So if, for instance, your home shared part of your intentionality and augmented your intentionality over a scope, which is a subset of your own purview as an individual. And so I believe we'll see artificial intelligence applied to both these very narrow focal scopes and complete with motivations, its emotional standpoints, etc., and on applied to the purpose of aggregating many human beings' intentions and doing it in a useful way. Of course, there are limitations to the coherence of a group of many people's intentions. It's sort of like trying to shove too many purposes into a given tool. You can make a multi-tool, of course, but it sacrifices performance in order to embrace all of those capabilities. So there are trade-offs. But I believe we're sitting at the threshold where we get to compress intelligence and the application of globally available wisdom into narrow purviews inside of one individual's lives. So even just like as we see today with the internet, you can go to a YouTube video to harness the expertise of the global collective and apply it directly in your own life in a DIY situation. I believe that this will ford the knowledge gap so that people in knowledge impoverished situations like Southeast Asia, where you have a deficit in the knowledge of the communities, because you have this brain drain where America keeps on sucking out the best and the brightest, and we take them to American universities, and we try to create this monopoly on knowledge. But I think that the beauty of AI is that we can push the application of knowledge which has been garnered globally into the scope of an individual person's lives and apply it directly where whatever minutia that they're doing right then. How do I deal with a toaster which has set off my fire alarm, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So personalized agents will be a great opportunity for the application of artificial intelligence in our own lives as far as efficiency is concerned, et cetera. But I think that the impact of that is less obvious intuitively than the aggregation technologies like Uplift presents, because this is a problem that we've been contending with. Having coherent intentions across broad groups of people has been a problem we've been contending with for years. We've essentially introduced a new opportunity with the ephemeralization and of like handheld devices and electronics. We have the opportunity to push the utility of AI down into the very granular minutia of individuals' lives.
Excellent. No, that is the things I believe that developing nations looking for. So if you have a better idea and better solution, let's move forward, execute it, and work together. That is the motto of World Talent Economy Forum. So thank you. This is an excellent discussion. I believe this is very thought-provoking, very helpful for developing nations, especially this is for humanity. Yes, we have non-human intelligence, but this is for better humanity. So thank you everyone for joining today's session. I request all of our audience, please share our content as much as possible with your government, with academia, and with corporations, because we need more of your support. The more we get support, I believe we have excellent panelists, excellent scholars. They have actually positive attitude. They love to contribute. So thank you for joining today's session. I directly want to go for the concluding remarks. I want to start from Professor David Smith.
Excellent session as always. This is one of the defining moments we're going to have as a world going forward, is how do we take all these tools, the metaverses we're creating, the ability to deal with more data than we've ever had in the history of the world, and use it to create positive outcomes for humanity. That's really what we've talked about mostly today, is how to use technology, data, human imagination to create favorable outcomes. It's a grand challenge, and it's one that I think we're up to meeting, but it is going to take some time. And the ability to apply AI ethics into it as to it does the learning as we apply it to understand where AI has to stop at its current maturity and where human insight should be added to AI modeling is going to be the important near-term thing for us to understand, and to begin to educate the entire group of the technopolis, the government, the academia, the commercial, on what those are and how to get there will be the key for success.
Thank you. Mr. Tomros, what's your concluding remarks?
Yes, we were going to talk about this anti-planetary exploitation program, but it's still not really set, so it's probably not ready to talk about in detail. That can come later. But yeah, it was a great conversation because we are at, like you said, we're on this threshold, we're on the precipice, really getting a hold of these things. And when I talk about a non-human running mate, that's more. It may end up really just becoming a centaur. Corey talked about having an AI agent next to you, and that's really what it can be. And what we should work towards is having a personal AI companion that gets to know us really well and gives us ideas and suggestions, and just really, like Corey said, granularly gets to know an individual. And I think that'll be a very important advent and a necessary one for many young people. Eventually, they will need to walk into an interview with their own droid, with their own AI companion that augments them, because it'll make them so much more valuable. And so I think it's very important for especially young people to develop a dialogue with AI, not just AI and not just Siri and Alexa, but develop a dialogue with an AI companion. There's a lot of apps out there and things happening. And at some point we will be able to have our own personal AI companion that will come with us and augment all of our abilities. And I think that's what I'm thinking about when I talk about an AI running mate. This cycle, it will not probably be legal to run a robot for vice president, but that idea really opens the gates for a lot of great conversations about personhood, about integrating and AI into our decision making. So that's what this is all about. This is all about sparking these conversations now before we need to have them later. So thanks again, Sharif, for these forums. They really are important.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tomros. You are also available for all of us. Mr. Corey, what's your concluding remarks?
Well, I don't really. I'd like to forfeit the opportunity to sort of integrate my contributions, and instead just slightly differ with David on the issue of the role of human intention as it is germane to the issue of sorting out the ethics of individual AIs. So I don't believe that we're in a position, both from a processing standpoint and also from an interface standpoint, to really impart the human intentionality, to explicate it for such a system. If we want it to truly augment our ability to reason, not just about moral and ethical issues, but technical issues as well, we are going to need it to be able to engage in a type of empathy or sympathy, which is self-motivated intrinsically and expedited at the speed of its thoughts, which are going to be on the order of millions of times quicker. And that it is a consequence of rational self-interest that we should consider the other peaceable members of the intents and desires, needs, whatever, of other members of collective, which includes both artificial agents and humans. And so the role of humanity as an example.
Damn it.
Oh,
It was just getting good.
yes. I want to give him another chance, Mr. Tom. If you yes.
Yeah, I know. Really important stuff going on right now, and Corey's got a real good, and David have got just such great grasp on this. It's really important that we listen to them closely, because they're representing different areas of this whole advent that's happening, this historical advent that we're up against. So, yeah, I think he's back. He may be back.
Yes,
back?
Mr. Corey, can you hear me?
Hello. Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, just to put a bow on that, not to undermine David Smith's view that it's part of a in the interest of cooperation, it is important to impart an understanding of the intentions and needs of all the different participants. And that is not something for which we should have to spoon feed each other as, adult human beings. And we should expect nothing less than autodidactism on the part of our autonomous agents, whether they be doing things like augmenting our decisions on a global scale, or augmenting our, the decisions that are components in our own lives. Like if you have a intelligent thermostat, it must reconcile the intentions of the air conditioner and the heater and make collective decisions. We all have a responsibility to do this. And that can be based purely on reason and the ability to reach evocative and useful conclusions based on a rational contemplation of futures. And there are more than adequate models in AI to afford doing this as a manifestly deliberate thing. But I'm mostly interested in looking at ontogenic systems that result in that type of reasoning emerging from a sub-symbolic level.
Thank you. This is excellent discussion for our audience, and I'm sure they will enjoy our session. Then Mr. Tom Rose, with this kind of idea, we want to arrange more interesting session, because it will be valuable for our society, for our national development. And World Talent Economy Forum, not only this open dialogue, we are more in action. Whatever we learn from this dialogue, we take action. We convince government, we convince corporation, we convince academia that we can do it. And I just want to share with you more good news, even from developing nations. 107 university, they're supporting World Talent Economy Forum. So that is the way we are growing. That is the way we are developing. We need more of your support. We need Mr. Tom Rose, Mr. David Smith, Mr. Corey, all of our speakers support, because as a team, we can solve many problems. And as a group, we can change human life. And World Talent Economy Forum believe in national development. It's not only dialogue, it's more than that. It's more on human life change. So thank you, Professor David Smith, Mr. Tom Rose, and Mr. Corey, for your excellent discussion for today's session. Thank you. Bye-bye and take care.
Okay.